Episode 190. That's 190. We're only 10 away from 200. I looked it up. It's somewhere, I think, the end of July. I don't know if we'll do something special, but 200 is a pretty big number. What's that Roman numeral number for that? Is that a thing? Bicentennial, is that
M is 100, right? So it's MM
or C.
I have no but then what do you call it?
Oh my goodness, what's M? 1,000?
Yeah, I think so.
But then you call it bicentennial, or is that only for age? I don't know. Anyway, someone will fill us in.
Yes, that would be the number of years. We have not been around for 200 years.
No, episode. Yet. Right. So bicentennial's years. It's not how many episodes. Disc Golf 978. Fun fact, Statmando, back when Ella Hansen, we'll have her on in a little bit here, but when Ella Hansen was newer to the game, I think 2 years ago, 2020, she had her first career major at U.S. Women's. And at the time, her unofficial event rating was, guess what? One guess.
978.
978. That was her official, unofficial, I should say, event rating, because I just went back and checked it out 2 years later and probably the following month, but it's 977 now. But long story short, 978. Man, 978, tournament is full swing up here in the Northeast. I'm sure it is everywhere, but when we come out of the winter, things start you start unbuttoning, you start wearing shorts eventually, and disc golf tournaments, full swing. And guess what? 978 is almost at every single event, and they should be.
Yes.
They make it so easy. They literally pop up a pro shop at every single tournament central, and I don't mean like a pop-up tent. That's not bad.
It's a trailer.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's a massive trailer.
I'm not talking like TD Central put a tent up and a little unfold table, like here's a couple discs. Like it's like a full pro shop.
Yep.
So that's extremely cool. If you're in the Northeast, get them at your event. If you're around the country, have them support your event through player packs and through payouts. Extremely easy and affordable for you because it's 25% discount.
I actually just got a $117 from Disc Golf 978 for coming in third. So that's why I love having Disc Golf 978 being the pro shop prize pack funny money, because one, that's a ton of money. Two,
humble brag.
a ton of funny money. Two, that it keeps adding up to eventually a few more of those finishes I can buy like a basket or something like that. So
that's exactly what I did.
It's awesome.
It's extremely awesome to do it that way. Computer is slow tonight. We should still be live. It's just
okay.
It's just frankly it's real. I don't know who Frank is, but frankly it's really slow.
978.
Yeah, so you could use the code we love 978 because we do, and get your discount.
It's LUV, right?
LUV.
Is it?
Louvre?
Yeah,
No, it's LOVE.
Yeah, LOVE.
Is it actually? Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought when we first started, it was like LUV, just to be different.
That's
but
pretty.
Maybe not.
Good.
That's pretty good.
Me and my boys still joke about good all the
That's
time.
where Nick used to live.
Good.
I was just up there.
Oh, really?
Why were you up there?
Went up for the weekend.
Lake Marshall?
Funny enough, on Friday, I played a golf charity tournament. Actual.
Wow.
I hate saying ball golf.
Actual, no, just
like
traditional.
Actual golf. I
golf.
shouldn't have to say any sort of traditional golf ball golf. I went up and played a golf tournament. I hit a ball, putted it into a very, very small hole, and it was a great time. And then on Saturday and Sunday, actually, I went up to Lake Marshall Open to surprise all my friends. And so I hung up there for a little bit, left Sunday morning, drove back down here to Florida, and got back to work today.
Awesome. There was a big event, as all Disc Golf Pro Tour events are, OTB Open out in Stockton, California. We'll talk about that venue a little bit later. We'll talk about, in just a second here, literally, about the event. Evan's going to give us a recap on it. But just to get you guys excited, we've got Calvin Heimburg lined up for no reason. We've got Ella Hansen lined up for no. If you don't want spoilers, we'll just say for no reason and let you guys speculate. But Ella and Calvin on the show tonight. We'll see what they have to say about it. And following the recap, we will be doing our Pop Drop Lock review. the points review. We don't have any picks for this week. We'll talk about that later as well. So, Evan, without further ado, what do you got for us? Hey, it's nice to have you back, by the way. We don't quite do you justice when you're gone.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I was on vacation last week. You guys, I listened back to the show. Don't worry. Heard a pretty good review. I appreciate it. Of course, I threw you some notes, but it was good. It was enjoyable. Great show. And yes, I was on vacation. I was in a remote area without a lot of service too, so I wasn't able to watch it live. But back here, enjoying life. And we had the OTB Open this past weekend out in Stockton, California. This has been now a fairly long time running event. I mean, it was originally the San Francisco Open, moved a little bit east into the Central Valley of California, if I'm saying that regional area correctly. And we had Calvin Heimburg win it. He goes back-to-back Elite Series wins. And Ella Hansen, who gets her first career Elite Series win. And to start with Calvin Heimburg, first time he's gone back-to-back Elite Series wins in his career. He was on quite the stretch without Elite Series wins, goes over a year without one from Jonesboro 2023 until DDO, did not win Jonesboro this year. DDO 2024, and then goes on to win the OTB Open in 2024. That's his 11th career Elite Series win. And interesting enough, I was looking at numbers, and Calvin Heimburg has never DNF'd in his career. And so if we look at the most Elite Series and major wins without a DNF in your career, guess who's number one? Calvin Heimburg. So that's a neat fact that, of course, doesn't really mean all that much, but still a neat fact, and I enjoy it. Calvin was looking really awesome. I wasn't able to watch a lot of coverage. I was able to look at the stats and get a good sense of the leaderboard and what was happening. Was score watching all weekend. But I want to hear from you guys. What was looking good for Calvin Heimburg this week? And Matt, did you catch it? What did you think in Calvin? I know you want to talk about him.
Yeah. I think they crowned it or deemed it the low ceiling championships, and he said he likes the course, and you could tell. He's good at what he does. I think this would be a fun topic now to talk about, like, best disc golfers, because I'm getting off track a little bit here, but Barella's taken a little bit of a rest few weeks. Gannon had his most off week of the season, and Calvin's won what we'll call back-to-back. I know we went over to Europe, and we're not downplaying that, but Calvin wasn't there. So all of a sudden, you have a back-to-back winner in Calvin, who we know is one of the most consistent players ever. We've got now this trifecta of players in that conversation. I will give Calvin kudos for doing this. I'm excited to see him continue on. I don't have anything else to say except that he performed really well. And his putts, he says, if you feel like you're going to hit it, obviously go for it, no matter what. And I saw a few of those death putts, and he did a great job with those. So that's all I have to say about Calvin.
I kind of want to show the emphasis on how consistently great Calvin has been. I mean, I don't need to tell people how Calvin Heimburg's good at consistency and good at finishing at the top of the leaderboard, but I still feel like it just needs a little oomph to know how consistent he has been at the top. So he finished 16th at last year's PDGA Champions Cup. Since then, at major and elite events, ready for this? He has gone first, sixth, seventh, second, third, fourth, second, fifth, fourth, fifth, third, 34th, third, fifth, second, 34th, fifth, first.
What's up with those two, man?
There's a couple 34s in there, which, wow,
weird.
That's so bad of you, Calvin. But
wow,
I said so many single digit numbers there, and I was talking for a long time for all those top 10s. It's almost unbelievable what he's doing. He did it last season. And then to start this season, we saw the 34th. We saw, injury Calvin come back, look good, but then get another 34th. Is he not able to keep it up? Nope. He goes right back to keeping it up and looking fantastic. He's been number one in the official disc golf world rankings all year. And he just moved back into the number one in the Statmando official rankings. He's still trailing. He's in fourth for disc golf pro tour points. But I mean, he missed two Elite Series events, one of them being in Europe, and then 234ths, which surely are going to drop by the end of the season. So he's in a great position. We're going to talk about Gannon Burr. We're going to talk about Anthony Barella, and Nicholas Antel, who's in third ahead of Calvin Heimburg. But he's looking good for the rest of the season. Moving down the leaderboard, besides Calvin Heimburg, I want to go through who else finished top 10. I mean, Ricky Wysocki finished tied for 6, but let me say the other names: Gavin Rathbun, Randon Lotta, Gavin Babcock, Sullivan Tipton, Ezra Aderhold, Ezra Robinson, Zachary Nash, Garrett Gerthy, Andrew Marweed, Robert Burridge. more than 8 other names because there was ties for 10th. But those names I just said, all fantastic players, but aren't your classic top 10.
Can I try something like you just did for Calvin? Here you go.
Sure.
Tipton had this year specifically. Tipton had a DNF, a 95th, and an 85th place finish. Now a 4th. Nash, these are the players you just said at this event who placed top 10. Nash was averaging 61st across all of the events this season. 61st. He gets an 8th place. Randon averaged 40th across all events. He gets a 3rd place here. Rathbun, if we're going with him here, averaging 25th. He's doing okay this year, but a 2nd place finish. And then finally Babcock, he's averaging 33rd this season, and he got a 4th. What happened here, Evan? Are you going to break that down for us, or just tell us that it's amazing to look at? Because it is.
Oh no, I don't like you throwing it to me like that, because it seems like I should have an answer, and I don't have an answer. I'm kind of left, I can't even think of the word to say here. I'm left confused on, maybe confused isn't the right word, because again, these are all fantastic players. But yeah, all of these fantastic players who have been, maybe below what they want to be so far this year have all put it together, and taking any one of those names and being like, hey, you finished in the top 10 makes perfect sense. But seeing all of them together at the same event, all kind of have this resurgence, it is pretty wild. And it's not like, the course at Swenson Parks, it's not fluky in any means. It's a fantastic course. We'll talk about golf courses later, but it's a thrower's course. There's lots of air room, even if there's not a lot of height air room. And sure, there's out of bounds. There's lots of ways to get to the basket. You can choose different paths. I mean, it's a pleasure to watch, even though I got to watch minimal amount this weekend. But I'm left confused on how all these players got to it. So I don't want to. I hate leaving it like that to people.
It's
who,
the venue
want to hear the facts.
One.
To then be like, I'm left confused, because that's not a great answer. But sure, I mean, I don't think it's the venue though, because I think the venue allows the best players to shine. And again, not that these aren't the best players, but it's not the classic top 10 we've been seeing as of late. So.
Fair.
If anyone else has anything, feel free to interrupt me. But moving down the leaderboard, I wanted to mention Eagle McMahon finishing tied for 13th. He was in the 90s at his last appearance at the PDGA Champions Cup. Very different course, Northwood Black compared to Swenson Park. But this is definitely a course that fits Eagle's style, so it makes sense to see him have a great finish. But still, it is good to see him bounce back from that not so great first event of the year. And then also in 13th place is Gannon Burr, who misses the top 10 for the first time all season. So he was 100% top 10 percentage until this event. But despite that, he moves to first place in the Disc Golf Pro Tour World standings. He passes Anthony Barella, who has 3 wins on the season compared to Gannon Burr's 1. So I feel like this is a good time to have a quick discussion. We still got to move to FPO before we get into interviews. But feelings on Gannon Burr passing Anthony Barella, Calvin Heimburg right in 4th. Is this race for number 1 in the MPO World Standings exciting, or what? Josh, what are you making of it so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I think it's interesting. Gannon Burr's like, yeah, that was the worst I felt playing all year. First time finishing outside of the top 10. Yet he's celebrating and saying, but I'm on top of the points. And it's very tight. I think him and AB, and obviously he technically has the lead, but they're practically tied. I mean, 1 position difference at any one of these tournaments probably trades it off. And I think it's exciting seeing the players push for that. It's also interesting how the points, right, don't necessarily, I mean, the way they average out. In other words, somebody like AB who's bumped up and down with a few more wins, but then Gannon with a little bit more consistency. It's just a different narrative to look at, but it's great.
And then few more names. I mean, Paul McBeth shot the hot round to start off the tournament. Didn't play as well the rest of the weekend, but still gets a top 20 finish, tied for 18th. With that, I mean, Aaron Gossage, but also Anthony Barella, who's been having such a great season. So I just wanted to point out the fact that Anthony Barella is having this, fall from fantastic, from going from winning three events and, back to back, to then, 18th feels like an off weekend. Meanwhile, McBeth, who has all the career accolades you could ask for, is trying to fight back into the conversation of current day disc golf. And this is now I think for a lot of fans sees it as a good finish. Maybe Paul doesn't see it that way, but a good finish getting back up into the top 20. So just an interesting note that the, I don't want to say old, but young and old of disc golf kind of changing both directions directions, and it's good to see top 20 finishes.
Absolutely. Hey, real
ahead,
quick,
Matt.
because we had someone just provide feedback to us. Josh, can you just give me a quick test? Just say something.
Test in your right ear, your left ear.
So I got to interject for just 2 seconds. I'm trying to set up what's called the Simon cast, and it's going to be announced. I may be breaking the news here, but Simon's doing a companion cast for the Portland Open. He'll be here in studio. We'll be broadcasting. I was trying to set up something for us to do that, and I think I screwed up our settings. So you were panned all left in audio. If that's what you heard a minute ago, I hope I fixed it. I think I did. It says it's great now. So I clicked a lot of buttons, and by the way, we're streaming in 60 frames tonight too, frames per second. That's why we're slowed down.
So I can move faster and it's not blurry.
I don't know. I'm just saying I apparently screwed things up in maybe a good way, but also a bad way. So sorry about that. All right, Evan, back to you. I think we're good.
All right. Well, I mean, that was a good time to interject because we are switching over to the other division. Ella Hansen wins her first career Elite Series event. Ooh, botched that. I know she has tons of fans. People are super excited to see her finally get the win. We saw her get a silver or two last season. We've seen her have fantastic finishes. You mentioned that 2021 U.S. Women's Mat where she shot off I believe it was a podium so early on in her career. And she has continued to get better and better every single year, but we were waiting on when a win was going to happen, and here it is. She is now a champion. She was all over social media, stoked about it, which was cool to see. It meant a lot to her to actually to finally get over the hump and get this win. She wins by 7 strokes too, a dominant win after being tied with Holland Hanley into the final round. But 7 strokes marks the largest margin of victory for an FPO player's first career Elite Series win since Kona, Panis, now Montgomery won by 12 strokes, at 2021 Waco Annual Charity Open. So it has been a while since we've seen a dominant victory to get your first in quite a while. Notably, Ella Hansen only had 1 OB on the weekend. That is fantastic for a course that does have OB. You see people all over the place in double digits. And this was by far her best event of the year by the stats. Some could be the course, but then obviously a lot of it is putting it all together on a single weekend to get the win. But she was 95% fairway hits. That's the best of the season for her in a single event. 95 was just round 3. Let me go 89% on the weekend. Excuse me. That still is the best of her, the season for her at a single event. 19% park, 54% circle 1 in regulation, 78% circle 2 in regulation. She was crushing it off the green. And again, across the board from tee to green, were those the best numbers of the season for her. Looking fantastic. So Nick, what'd you see in Ella Hansen this week that, you really felt like she put it all together? I know you were up in Lake Marshall, but I know you were still, getting some of the action.
I did. I got a little bit of the action. Huge congrats to her. I mean, this is big. She has the Silver Series win. What was it, last year? But consistent throws. I mean, talking about only getting 1 OB over the course of 3 rounds on a golf course is impressive nonetheless. And then just being able to battle it out, with such a wide margin of victory, especially coming down the end. It was all just smooth, consistent, was making the putts when she needed to. And, it didn't do anything that was like, oh my gosh, but definitely was very enjoyable to watch her and Holland, who I actually had winning the event. It was very fun to watch them battle it out the final day.
Yeah, and I led the possibility of misspeaking earlier by saying she had 1 or 2 silver events. It was just wins. It was just 1, the Dismany Open last year. Yeah. She did have a podium at a silver event. Maybe I was confusing that. Maybe I just straight up had it wrong. Either way, I had it wrong. Maybe I was even more wrong. Anyways, moving on. Kat Mertsch ends up sliding up into second place, not in that tie for the lead going into the final round, but finished in second place, 1 stroke ahead of Holland Hanley. Holland Hanley finishes in third. Unfortunately, wasn't able to close out this win. She's still looking for her first Elite Series win. She, of course, had the excellent win at Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship last year. That's an XA tier. We all know it means a lot, but still looking for that first ES or even major win of her career. Owen Scoggins, love to see her on these golf courses still hanging in there. She gets 4th. Paige Pierce gets her first top 5 since last year's West Coast swing. She won this event last year. She went on and got a 5th at Portland Open following that last season. Then, we all know she unfortunately got injured going out to Europe, and then has had better finishes than people think so far this year, but this is her first top 5. Anniken Sten finishes 6th, but not to skip over her, I do want to go right to 7th place, Madison Walker. Ben, I've thrown it over to you. And it's not just for picking her and pop. You have a true fandom to Madison Walker. So tell us your feelings. How excited are you seeing a top 10 finish for one of the two hockeys?
Yeah, it's honestly amazing for her. I don't recall even the last time she was in the top 10. She was earlier
just last year, my man.
Okay, so just
LWS Open.
Got it.
But
so
yes, that's still a lot of events in between.
So Idlewild.
Yes.
So yeah, and she didn't play a few events. Maybe she might have been hurt, not really sure, but it's just awesome to see kind of like all the Jomez commentators kind of having a resurgence, FPO and MPO on the MPO side, just coming in hot and playing well. So it was awesome to see. I'm sure she was very excited that, now her average is going to go up, and who knows, maybe I'll have to stop picking her, but congratulations, Madison. You deserved it. You worked hard and you got it.
All right. Well, happy for you, Ben, and happy for you maybe finally pick a new pop pick in FPO.
Maybe.
I'm excited for it.
Maybe. That's a big maybe. That's a big ask.
All right. Well, jumping back up to third place for Holland Hanley. Although she finished third in the event, she won the women's global event, and that's because, as we heard last week with the interview with the Northeast Women's Disc Golf, I always forget New DG how the acronym goes. I believe it's that. They talked about how this is a tournament that goes through events all over the globe, not just Maple Hill where they're hosting it, right, Ben? And since there's so many events in it, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Oh, you missed a good time though.
I listened back to it. I
was saying if there's multiple weekends, that was what I was saying. But anyways.
Sure, Ben. Anyways, it was just this weekend. It was all over the globe. It was so cool to see so many different winners, and how they figure out the winners for this is every tournament will take the average round rating from the first two rounds. So even if you have a tournament on the Elite Series or another type of tournament that has more than two rounds, that'll only take the average of the first two. And so, as we know, Holland Hanley and Ella Hansen were tied going into the final round. But due to them having different scores in different rounds and different stroke separation to cause slightly different ratings, Holland Hanley edges out Ella Hansen by 0.1 rating points, 1019.8 to Ella Hansen's 1019.7. So Holland Hanley takes down the women's global event in FPO. Cadence Burge finished fourth. That's the best non-OTB contestant in the WGE for FPO. There's a lot of players who won. It was really cool to see them all over the place. I'll name a few more for the location of them, but that's so cool to see them to get a win. But Allie Lawler wins the Northeast Women's Global event, which was held at Maple Hill in Leicester, Massachusetts. So we had them on, wanted to give that a shout out. But there was players from all over the globe. There was a winner from New Zealand, and I think it was FJ10. Oh my goodness, there's so many to scroll
By
through.
the way, Maple Hill had the most in attendance. They did have the most. It was 100.
Congrats.
That is awesome to hear. And I didn't even mention those. There's 155 total events, 3,532 total players. I believe those are both records all time for this event. That is so awesome to see. And in FA4, for instance, we had a Finnish player win. Ria Tarava. I know Essa would come in and tell me exactly how to say it, but I can't do that. I'm trying my best. But she wins out in Finland. Then we had, girls junior under 10 or under or equal to 10 from Christchurch, New Zealand. Sarah Wadsworth got the win all the way down under. I don't know if New Zealand still calls themselves down under like Australia does, but either way, that's so cool to see. There's winners from Canada. I believe it was in Quebec, and then plenty of winners from the U.S. So it's so cool. I just find it fascinating to see an event kind of bring players from all over the globe together, and especially in growing women's disc golf. So I believe I let you all speak. So whoever is feeling good about sharing some love to WGE. Matt, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. I will say, because I'm most familiar with my locale, it was projected to have a little sprinkle of weather for an hour or two during the day. Nothing significant. And I think as Julie Fridella, Juji up here, who we've interviewed along with her crew, I think they said it was like a tsunami. It poured 2.5 inches of rain in the afternoon, unexpectedly, and nobody was prepared for it apparently. So I'm sure there was a bunch of sopping wet people.
I played in that as well, that monsoon at Buffinville. It was not great.
So shout out to them. Dedication there. Obviously, you're not giving up on the tournament, but dedication, people to finish it out cold, wet, incredible. Good job to them. Really proud to have them in our neck of the woods for sure. All right. If that's it, let's go ahead and get over to our pop, drop, lock points review. See how that shook out for our picks for the OTB Open. Hey, look, it didn't freeze up on us.
Nice job.
There's a few things going on. As I told you, I'm a little confused here, and I'm kind of sketched out that we're streaming in 60 frames because I didn't plan on that tonight. And
are you saying that's lower?
No, 60 frames a second. Like we can go slow mo at this point.
So it's higher.
Yeah, here we go. All right, and then we are playing weird mono stuff. But here we go. We're going to start out with the bottom of the pack here, and for once, or I don't know, it's Evan, minus 34 points.
Oof.
Speaking of bottom pack, he was second to last of everyone.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Well, yeah, what did Madison Walker do?
She
popped.
Negative 40-something for me? I don't quite know. That was a big hit. Hard to come back from that.
Rules are rules. You picked his pops as your drops, and it's probably...
I certainly did.
I kind of wish you would... compete. I feel like you would have done way
Evan,
better.
Pick your own pops.
You can pick
drops.
I do pick my own pops.
Just randomize it, Evan, with a random number
or
generator.
Just pick it. I feel like you can make a comeback of history. I feel like you're really good at this stuff, and I want to see you prove it. You're stat man,
though, man. 2
man.
weeks until Portland Open. We don't have any Europe Elite Series events in between, so we got some time to think about it. We'll go to the think tank.
We
see if we
can
want to
sell off. We'll sell off your picks, so people will pick for you on the drops.
I just want the challenge, and yeah, it's kicking my butt, but I want to continue the challenge. So I'm not here to give up. I'm not throwing in the towel. This week was very bad, but hey, you take the punches and you get up and you punch them right back next weekend, depending on the type of atmosphere it is.
So we don't have all your picks on screen. You did have a full roster of picks, but just so everybody knows,
I think I did Eric Gossage for my lock, and he had a top 20 finish, not good enough. I mean, Owen Scoggins was my other lock. I feel like I had okay picks, very low number, but that Madison Walker one just erased all of that.
They can go check it out at Pop Drop Lock. They can go check it out and see, because we have a little column that says show host, and you can scroll and find who we are.
You can just scroll to the bottom for Evans. Just go past that.
The day that any of us get rock bottom last, that deserves something.
He was close.
Everyone was close.
I just put Nick's picks up on screen, but here's the points for Nick. He's second to last year, 29 this week. So
that's solid. If that's the second highest or second lowest, that's pretty solid.
Points. Yeah. Ezra
Honestly,
Robinson killed me and Jake Wolf killed me.
I am a little surprised, because I think getting picks is going to be a tough thing to do here going forward, and we're doing pretty good. So then up next is going to be Josh and myself. It doesn't matter the order, because guess what? We tied at 68.
Whoa.
That's wild.
And it's crazy we tied at 68, and then in prop drop lock you got 71st place and I got 72nd. I want to know how tiebreakers work.
It's by who submitted first. It's in the rules.
All right.
So we have to get Shrek to review that.
No, that's fine. And I got Ella with the win. That feels good. Picking a winner.
That's a great pick.
It's not
I think you have the most winners picked.
Like Ella getting her first win.
No, it felt good, but yeah.
Okay. And then finally, Ben, we had a drum roll. You'd get it. Your points tonight or to this week were 81. That's pretty significant. Good job there.
Shout out Madison Walker. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, well, Luke Humphreys stands out to me because I picked him as well for my drop, and Luke gave us a drop this week. I knew it was coming. I hate to say that, but I just kind of felt I've picked him a few times for drop. He just has been outstanding, and he keeps letting me down in a good way. Yeah. He's playing really well.
He's been playing incredible.
Ben's in second place by 106 points.
So. Oh, I got 106 on you. Here we go. Come on.
Wait, you're beating me by 106 points?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's a lot. Matt is dominating.
Matt's killing it.
I don't know, guys. I'll have to write a book on how I make my picks for next year. We'll sell it. All right. Without further ado, though, I'm assuming, Calvin, can you hear us? Just give us a thumbs up before we bring you in. Okay. And we can hear you. I'm hoping we might not have audio feedback because I'm hearing it. Echo cancellation is on. It's possible your sound might be turned up too loud because I'm hearing it as we talk to you. It's very possible, but I could also be messed up myself. Can you go to there and let's go ahead. We'll bring him in. We'll see what happens here. Boom. All right. Calvin, how's it going? I'm not going to be leading your interview, but I wanted to give you a congratulations from myself to you, the guy who everyone thinks that does not like you on tour. And that's just going to be how it goes down forever. But I like you. You did good, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
He didn't pick you to win, but he likes you.
Yeah, okay. It's fair. But now you got technically kind of back-to-back, at least for you, back-to-back wins. I'm going to pass it over to Nick. We're going to let Nick give the interview tonight. Maybe I'll come follow up later. But Nick, go ahead and take it away.
I think it's coming to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, go over to Josh.
You did say Josh.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out, Calvin. Hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. So since your 2023 Jonesboro win, you've been on the podium 8 times, 5 seconds, 3/3, and now, at least from an Elite Series standpoint, back-to-back DDO, OTB. You snuck a 3rd place at LVC in between there. But this is something you had not done before. So here's my question. Does winning back-to-back, does that feel unique in any way? It's something you hadn't done up to this point. Does that feel refreshing, kind of momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I've never won that close. Yeah, 2 events that close to each other, so it is definitely different. I don't know if it's like something I'm putting too much thought into. I am playing good disc golf right now. I'm throwing the disc really well and putting really well. So, it's good to string a couple together right there on, a couple courses I'm pretty comfortable on. So, I'm just hoping I can continue up into Portland because it's a lot of similar style golf coming up.
For sure. Yeah. Well, you said you're playing great, and we can see that on the screen. It's impressive. So you already answered this question in the post-round interview, but I'm curious, like the hole 17 putt, if the situation was even slightly different, let's say it's 1 stroke different, do you think different, or is it truly a matter of, like you said, you either feel like you're going to make it or not? Is that what it comes down to when you're making those types of decisions?
Yeah, pretty much. I think if you're feeling good about a shot, you should throw it. Because if you're feeling good, you're in the right headspace. I think I'm putting that. I mean, if I'm up more than whatever 2, I might not. If I was up like 3, I probably would just lay it up. But 2, 1 or tied, I'm running that putt if I'm feeling good about it.
Well, it certainly was a perfect putt, and could tell you were feeling good about it. It's awesome to see. It's funny sometimes hearing the live commentators talk about, what decision, and for you it's just a matter of, I feel like I'm going to make it, which is awesome. So, of course, media and fans this is true for any course. We have lots of opinions, most of us who have never been out to the course. Just curious your perspective on the OTB course in general, and maybe here, does it compare to anything else on tour? Or do you feel like it kind of stands out? And of course, it's all the obvious things. It's long, low ceiling, rollers, water, maybe foxes strewn throughout the course. Do you feel like it compares to anything else, or is it kind of standalone?
I think it kind of does stand alone. It's a little unique. Just like however, there are a lot of low ceilings. You do get to see a lot of people bust out rollers though too. It is on a golf course, but they utilize kind of with the non-golf fairway portion of the golf course really well. So I would say it's pretty unique. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I'm like, oh, this really plays super similar on tour. But I could just be missing something. But yeah, I think it's unique. It has a good variety of forehands and backhands that it asks you to do, but there are always little ways around it.
So being on a ball course and from your perspective, and I think I'd agree, to those of us who have never been there, it looks unique. Even though we hear a lot of kind of reaction to, is it a ball golf course versus wooded, especially with the announcement of Champions Cup. You mentioned the way they're using the layout there. Do you still feel like you consider it an open course more similar to ball golf, or is the way they're using some of the landscape there eke it a little bit closer to, obviously not a wooded course, but are they designing it in a way that has some of those benefits?
Yeah, I think it's definitely still a golf course. Like there's no getting around that. I mean, there are some holes that play down some holes you play the fairways are super wide, and I mean that's pretty typical of the golf courses we tend to play. But they do make you hit gaps. Like they do definitely kind of frame up some gaps for you, and it's not just wide open bomber distance. You still have to they're long shots, but there are certain gaps to hit, and you need to end up in certain places to attack the next shot. So I would say it still is a golf course, but it's not just grip it and rip it. There is some aiming involved.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, on the weekend we see a lot of the required aiming with low ceilings, mandatories, and kind of layup zones. But then we also see some shots that look like, from our perspective, to be shanks, but then end up in an okay spot. So I think that talks about the variety. All right. So at this event with the OTB Open, and I think we'd have to look. I believe it moved. I forget which year, but either way, at this event, you finished 4th, 2nd, 6th, and now 1st. So when you hear that they announced the Champions Cup there may be a whole mixed bag of reactions, but does that performance bode well for you shooting for a major next year? Is that already in your mind at all, or is that too far out?
Yeah, I'm honestly not thinking about that at all right now. I mean, I've played well out there. I'm sure they're going to change stuff for Champions Cup. Leonard is going to go out there and try to make it harder for, the major. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what changes they make. But, yeah, I mean, I think it is a course that, just with the terrain they have and the low ceilings, it does set up well for me, regardless of what they do end up coming up with.
Yeah, that's awesome. And since I brought up Champions Cup, and we'll come back to you and a couple other details here in a moment, but most of the debate, if you want to call it that, is, hey, this Champions Cup had an identity of being a wooded major. Does that resonate with you? Did you feel like that's the case? And do you have any sense of disappointment that next year is not really on a classic wooded course?
I mean, I guess you could feel that way because it's only ever been at IGGC and then Northwood, but it's hard to really feel like a tournament had an identity when it's like 3 years old, Originally it was supposed to be a traveling major as well. So before they said it was going to always be at IGGC, originally it was supposed to be an upper bid major, but I don't know. I do love playing the wooded courses. But I think, it seems like it might start bouncing around some. So I think, some years it will be there, some years it won't. And, maybe years where this particular major isn't on a wooded track, maybe Worlds will be, a little more wooded.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see, and I'm sure media and fans will still debate their opinions. We haven't discussed it yet on this evening show. I'm sure we will. My sentiment is closer to yours, so appreciate you sharing that. All right, so you've had, like you said, you're playing good golf here. You had a couple up and down events earlier in the year. I'm going to come back and ask you a little bit how your forehand, if there's any lingering injury. But here's a different question. I'm actually curious, do you hear media, fans, or I'm going to say maybe friends, but probably media and fans talk about your performance on tour? Like, do you hear people talking about, hey, here's where he's doing well, here's where he's not, people are pleased or disappointed? Is that something you consume or hear or is thrust into your face at all? Or are you kind of oblivious to that conversation in the media?
I think, you always hear some of it, but I am definitely kind of removed from a lot of it. I'm not, super into disc golf media in general and taking it in. I don't think there's a whole lot for me to gain through it. I think I really just need to be focused on playing. But you always hear bits of it, and it is what it is. But it doesn't really change, anything that I'm trying to do. It's just every week I'm trying to go out there and win. So I just got to do what I need to do to prep for each individual tournament.
So an individual focused sport like golf maybe doesn't lend itself, but what I hear you saying is, you're not looking for that bulletin board material to give you motivation. You're already out there focused on executing.
Yeah.
All right. That makes sense. All right. So I mentioned, I'm not even sure if we've really classified it as an official injury, but I think you've had some nagging issue. You rested a little bit. We've seen, like I said, 1 or 2 performances that are well below your typical strong performance. And I think you've talked about using forehand less. So can you just give us an update on what you're experiencing and how that's feeling?
Yeah, there's still lingering pain there. I'm throwing forehands, but generally shorter ones. Just no power forehands. I can throw approaches, and then, occasionally if I really feel like I need it, I will try to throw one a little bit farther, but it's not really with an overstable disc. It'll be like a high speed flippy disc or something, and try to getting it to glide. But still no power forehand, and still trying to avoid it as much as possible. Inner elbow, it's doing better, but it's still not where it needs to be.
Is it mostly just like balancing, like you just said, and letting it rest, as well as maybe a little bit of strength and mobility? Is that where you're focused, just to kind of make sure you don't overexert it at this point?
Yep. That's pretty much it. Just making sure I don't overexert it. Just trying to give it time to heal.
Great. Well, glad to see you're able to perform with it. I think you made some comment in the post-round interview about forehand-friendly course or course design, something of that sort, but you're obviously working around that with no problems.
Yep. Yeah, you can generally work around it. It just sometimes is a little harder.
Yeah. All right, so totally kind of almost ridiculous question, but in the chat, somebody wants to know, have you ever worn a hat or sunglasses during a round ever? Is hat Calvin a thing, or is it just not in the bag for you?
No, I definitely have. I've worn sunglasses before. I've worn a hat before. Not a huge hat fan when the hair's longer. And then honestly, I don't know. I feel like I did used to wear sunglasses a while ago, and then I feel like I just kept losing them, so I just stopped. I said, whatever. This was not even in my mind, but as you're answering, I'm thinking, didn't we see you in some skins match with a ridiculous visor, sunglasses of some sort? So we have seen that. Yeah.
But
Yep. I've been in skins matches with some weird sunglasses before.
All right, there you go. Well, and since we're on it, and believe me, I know these are ridiculous, but another chat question: do you ever make pizza at home, and have you ever missed the oven?
I can't say I've ever missed the oven, and right. Occasionally, I do make a little pizza in the oven, but can't say I've ever missed.
All right, awesome. A slightly more semi-serious question, but this is actually not specific to you, but sometimes I like to ask questions about things that are happening on the ground that an actual touring pro there may be privy to, and so this year we've seen, I'm not sure if this is an actual stat, but almost every event, somebody has missed being at the first tee in time, and they end up getting penalty strokes. So just from your perspective, not picking on anybody who had that happen to, because there's probably a million reasons why that could happen. All right, maybe he'll answer for us. I'm just going to straight up ask it. Is it that hard to get to the tee on time?
Is it hard to get to the tee on time?
What do you think, Zach? Is it hard to get there on time?
It's really difficult, for sure.
I've had zero issues. You look at the clock and you just budget your time well, and you show up there extra early. You don't take any risks. But he's a risk taker.
For our listening audience, by the way, it has who is that?
Zach Mellon?
Yeah.
Oh.
Zach Mellon. He's sitting there in the passenger seat, probably watching our show.
Yeah, or probably not. But anyway. Well, anyway, I'm all set. Calvin, thank you for your time. I mean, I'll ask the other guys on the panel. I know we're not looking to take long tonight, but I appreciate your insights. Congrats on a great. I mean, you're on a mini tear right now. I mean, a first and then a third at a non-lead event and another first. So obviously, rest up. Are you doing anything this coming weekend before the next event?
Yeah, just kind of slow rolling it up towards Portland. Not a whole lot of plans yet, but hopefully, taking a little break because I've pretty much I have played every week since I guess that would be Jonesboro. So it's been pretty busy. So good little break, and then we got the back-to-back in Portland.
Awesome. All right. Anyone else, guys? Any questions for Calvin before we let him slow roll it up to Portland?
Calvin,
just drive safe and best of luck.
Yeah. My question is, what did it feel like at the two events you finished 34th this year? That's my only question. People are going to say I had to ask it because that's who I am on the show with Calvin Heimburg. But that had to feel unreal. Chess.com and Music City Open. We read off a list of your last season, including this season, and those are the only two that are crazy. What did it feel like to you in a mental space?
They definitely suck. I mean, I think Music City, I wasn't playing well. I could go out there and play that course well, even with just a backhand. That one, I just wasn't executing, and that was frustrating. But some weeks are just like that.
But some weeks are just like that, but not very often for you. Literally the whole last season and this season, that was the only one.
Yeah. I think it's just I don't know. That course, I definitely wished I had a forehand. The backhand lines were there, and I didn't throw great, and I didn't putt great, and it was a weird week.
Okay.
But chess was a little different because I think. I mean, my elbow was hurt, and I kind of went out there and just tried to play like I would have played the course last year, and I did not sit back and just really, I don't know, I guess just try to break the course down with just a backhand, and I definitely hurt myself a little more, and then it was just a lot of frustrating things not being able to. It was just mentally frustrating not being able to do what I wanted to do. And I just hadn't quite come to that realization that I shouldn't and can't at that point shouldn't be throwing forehand at all.
Yeah.
So chess was just one of those where my game plan wasn't good, and then Music City was. I think I had a good game plan. I just wasn't executing.
Yeah, and to be clear, I was less trying to put a spotlight on those rounds and more it had to feel crazy because of last season's performances and realistically this season's performances. So it's very unlike you to do that. Do you hold yourself, I don't think you do based off of what I know about you, but do you hold yourself to a different standard now where you're I have an expectation to meet, I'm averaging XYZ at these events, I expect that of myself? Or do you go in pretty fresh slate at every single event?
Yeah, I think it's pretty fresh slate. I don't know. I don't really set expectations on scores or finishing as far as placing, but I mean, I just go out there and I know what playing good feels like to me, and that's what I want to do. And regardless of whether or not that ends in a win or a 28th place, it's just I know what I want to do and how I want to execute, and that's kind of what I'm basing everything off of.
Cool. I appreciate you sharing that. And with nobody else jumping, Ben has one before we let you go.
Actually, so I have a question for Zach, if that's okay.
Wow.
Zach, how we doing?
What's up?
So you commentated on Jomez. Was it your first time commentating on Jomez? I guess I'll ask you that.
Yeah. That's the first time I did Jomez before.
So just talk to us about that process on, being a new commentator in Jomez, and all the comments seemingly were extremely positive. And how does that make you feel? And where do you see yourself like carving this lane as an announcer now, or is that something you want to do?
Yeah, I've kind of dipped my feet in that a little bit this season. I've had some injuries where I haven't been able to play as much as I want, and so that's been kind of cool to kind of get that experience. I was nervous going into the first round. I mean, this is Jomez. I've been watching Jomez since I've been playing disc golf when we've had it, right? So it's kind of, people watch it and didn't want to mess up too bad or anything. I tried really hard not to drop any curse words, so I kept that one in check. But no, it was fun to do. Enjoyed it for sure. It kind of helped that I got to walk with Calvin because I had never been to OTB before. So I got to see the course before talking about it. Because, it's my first time doing it, but you want to be prepared. You kind of want to know what you're talking about. So
yeah,
that definitely was a bonus and helped and kind of helped me, and honestly, I've known Paul for a long time, and I knew we would have like a good rapport. Like it would be fun, because Paul is on the course. Paul is about business. And then you kind of see in the booth, he shows his personality and kind of has a little bit more fun. So, but no, it's definitely something I would be open to doing more of. And as far as the comments, like I've gotten a lot of messages and good comments that are positive, but I don't go looking because you just don't do that. I feel like you just don't go to the comments because if you're worried about that and you see some mean stuff or any, it's just like, you can't let it bug you whether they like it or not. But I have got good messages. I did have a picture sent to me during the final round, and it was a screenshot of me from the Jomez, and the caption said, "Wow, Nate Sexton has really let himself go." I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I enjoyed it. So
awesome. Stuff. Thank you. Well, I can say the comments were very positive. So that's congratulations.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Calvin, we're so grateful that you joined and you brought along your friend. Safe travels. Where are you guys headed to next? Up north?
Yeah. There's nothing this weekend for me, but the following 2 weekends I'll be in Portland. But yeah, I think I'm about to head up towards Sacramento to drop Zach off at the airport.
Okay.
To go back
awesome.
home.
Well, we totally appreciate it, man. I'd say I'm always rooting for you, but the chat would call me out. But I think it's true. I'm always rooting for you.
I think you're saying that, but I think you turned a new leaf this year. You've picked them at least a few times to win. I think, it'd be pretty dumb not to.
Good job, Calvin.
So, like, you're not a hater anymore?
No. It was 2 years ago he said Calvin wouldn't win. So he was a hater then. Not anymore. He's a supporter.
All right, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Everybody can change. Everybody can change. That's the thing. I can't change for getting better at disc golf. That's my problem. I can change in the other direction. All right. Great having you, dude. We'll have you on another time, not too soon probably. Not because you won't win, but because we like to let you guys have a breather from getting hit up all the time.
The
caveat. All right, peace out, dude.
See ya.
Peace.
Bye.
All right, Calvin Heimburg, everybody, joining us live from, I'm guessing, his van. And is everything delayed for you?
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to switch it.
Yeah, my audio is like 10 seconds behind. And that's what streaming 60 frames a second does, I think. Is it like, it makes things lag, even though the quality might look good. It was an accident. Okay. Coming up here in just a few minutes, I would imagine, is going to be Ella Hansen. If we're lucky. No.
Hopefully.
Also, I mean, we talk about it every single week, but pretty nice payday for Calvin at OTB Open. If I'm not mistaken, excuse me, it was like $13,000.
Yeah. Yes.
Which
second place 7,000, which is
yeah,
what Ella got for winning.
Yeah, she got that for FPO. I mean, that's pretty awesome. How many years ago majors weren't even paying out that much, and now we've got. This was a regular Elite Series event, so it wasn't even an Elite Plus event. And so that's a pretty insane amount of added cash. Shout out to Sean Jack and his crew out there. I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, just kind of Champions Cup going to OTB Open 2025, Swenson Park for the golf course. And everyone's going to have the different opinions on it. I mean, for the most part, what I saw online. But at the same time, their crew out there. I've had the pleasure of meeting Sean a bunch of times. I don't really know much about his crew, but from what I can tell, they do an incredible job. A lot of players do love going out there and playing, and so at least that's a good part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to get to a lot of other topics here post Ella interview. She'll be on here in just a few moments. You bring up a great point. It will be something we're talking about. But before we get to that, Josh, I liked how you asked the question about. It was Josh, right? I'm all confused tonight because of things.
Probably
are just
Josh. It
going
was
on.
either
The
you
tea
or
time.
Josh.
It was the tea time.
Oh yeah, it was Josh.
Is it hard? And then he points the camera over at Zach, and Zach's like, "It's hard."
Which I think Zach was being funny about.
Yes, he
I
was.
don't think
because
he
it
actually
happened to him
thinks
too,
that.
right?
Right. But the short, like, my first thought is, have I ever been late to work? Yes. Have I ever been late for whatever? Yes. So I actually agree, Nick. It's new this season for us to see this, but it's going to keep happening. It will never not happen. It will always be the one-off, somebody that goes, I was late. It just happens.
But see, the thing is about that, Matt, is like, if you're late to work, it's because, let's say you clock in at 9 o'clock. More than likely, at our normal, let's say 9 to 5 jobs, we don't get there an hour and a half before work. When you're playing a Pro Tour tournament, you're a professional athlete. You show up well before, the ball's tipped off or you're on the first tee or whatever. So if your tee time is 12:30 in the afternoon, more than likely, the top pros in our sport are there about an hour to 2 hours prior. They're getting stretched out.
So you're
They're
saying
doing
they
their
have no
disc golf run.
excuse. That's what you're saying.
Almost every single, like, I have not seen a good excuse yet. In the sense of, like, not everyone has to explain why they're late. Like, Drew Gibson had just posted saying, I am one of the people who fell to that rule this week. And, like, I don't know his circumstances.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a massive traffic jam that took him an extra 2 hours to get to the course. And if that's the case, then yeah, that's a super bummer. It's the people who are at the course. They have been warming up. And instead of getting to the tee time, 5 minutes prior to it, they're showing up at 4 minutes and 48 seconds. And then they're complaining that the rule is dumb.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
don't want to
like,
make excuses for them.
Yeah.
But I will say it's always going to keep happening.
Yeah.
You could plan everything into
But it
your
shouldn't.
routine, and no, should it?
Yeah.
And you always have that boss who says you shouldn't be late either. Like, you should not have been late, and you're like, bro, like, there's things that happen. I wouldn't call my boss bro.
I'll say this, and this is from personal. I'll say this, and this is from personal experience. Is I think my first year up in Michigan, so 2019, if the 5-minute rule was in effect for that tournament, I would have been late because I literally showed up about 30 seconds before I had to tee off, and that was because of the Uber that I took completely broke down. And where I was staying at the time, it was like almost impossible getting another Uber. I had to hire a taxi company to come pick me up and then go from that taxi to Kensington Park. Anyway, so I showed up like 30 seconds prior. So if I'd gotten stroked for that, then so be it. I mean, it is what it is. That's just kind of like, it hasn't happened since. I've Ubered to plenty of tournaments before, so that was just kind of crap luck. But most of the time, and
Yeah.
I'm a casual disc golfer at this point in my life, is like, even if I'm playing a tournament though, I'm showing up an hour prior. I've got to get stretched out. I want to get some throws in, and then I'm honestly at the tee pad 10 minutes prior to it.
Yeah.
But that's
Who
just me.
knows? I think we'll see it. What will be unfortunate is if we see it happen to somebody that is, let's say, they already played great. They're on a top 10 position going into like a last round. That's where it will be unfortunate. It's unfortunate all around if it happens to you, but I just mean in general, that's where the drama will really happen. We'll talk about what could have been. All right. Well, we've got Ella Hansen lined up in the green room, so let's go ahead and bring her in. We're excited to have her on the show tonight. Oh, it just jumps perfectly. Welcome to the show, Ella Hansen. No transitions tonight.
Thank you.
So we looked back. Well, congratulations. I mean, OTB Open. That's I don't know. I've never played it. It looks like it's a big course. It looks like throwing far probably helps. Low ceilings is being talked about there. If we go back and we look at, let me see here. Your first, I'm setting this up kind of crazy. Your first Pro Tour event was in Canada. Okay. We had you on last after that. You come on and now you've won an elite event. What does this win feel like? Maybe in comparison.
I mean, like, even at that time, it didn't really feel like that much, to be honest. So this is the one that kind of feels real. I think both it being like a silver event last year and the field was, minimal, I guess is a good way to put it. So yeah, to get a big win by like a solid margin against a good field at an elite event really feels like a big one.
So many know, I'm sure, you have a background in ultimate before disc golf. I Googled a little bit. Isn't it cool? We can just Google or ask AI and it will pull up stuff about you. So I have to fact check this a bit. But it said that you played, I guess, frolf, the idea of probably using ultimate lids in disc golf for many years. Is that correct? Maybe at a college or a university area. And then you found disc golf about 5 years ago with a disc where you actually started throwing a disc. So you've only been in about 5 years. You got into ultimate, and the best I know is that you have 2 world championships with a team of ultimate players. So you have a career of flying discs. My question to you is, like, where does a win on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the elite circuit, this big win, where does it rank for you as far as competitive achievements in your career?
It's a good question. I think I'd say number one. I think, winning. Yes, those are all correct. What you said. 2 world championships in ultimate. That was like with the under 24 national team, which is cool, but it's kind of like an all-star sort of team, and so, I wouldn't say I was like the star by any means. I contributed to the team, but that was obviously an awesome experience, both of those, but not quite the same as like doing it yourself. It definitely feels different.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, this is probably your biggest competitive achievement. And so I want to say major congrats to that. I felt that way already, but hearing you say like, this is it, that's a special moment. So leading into these rounds, especially at the last rounds, you and Holland notably have fun going back and forth with bets and other things that you've done in the past. I remember the hair color change. And the short question, I guess, would be, was there any other bet looming between this one? We didn't hear anything, but was there anything?
No, not really. We had kind of toyed around with the idea. We'd talked through some stuff. But she did say last night that she would dye part of her hair purple. So I think we're gonna make that happen.
Oh, that's awesome. But so I guess where my question leads with, again, notably you guys have fun back and forth, your friends on tour. Going into a round like this, I would imagine post rounds, you realize what's coming up for the next round. And you and Holland are chatting. I'm just making things up. You're going to correct me in a minute, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Do you guys have real talk where it's like, hey, sorry, I'm going to have to beat you tomorrow? Is it all in jest? Or do you guys actually have a real, like, I hate to put it this way, but like a heart-to-heart moment where you're like, hey, this is going to be tough. Like one of us may win and one of us may lose. Like, do you have those conversations going into a round?
Not that explicitly. I mean, after like Saturday, we had lunch together, like we're chilling,
Mm-hmm.
We're like tied for the lead, but yeah, just chilling, having lunch. But no, I think it's more like implied between the two of us. I think we both know how competitive each other are, and like I think in that position where we're both like clear of the rest of the field by 7 strokes, like it seemed kind of clear to me that like one of us was probably gonna win, and yeah, there kind of been times in the past where I don't remember if we were tied for the lead going into the last round or just like really close. But this one kind of just felt like, to me, I was, getting a vibe like it was going to be one of us, and it was cool that it was me.
And if you're competitive, that's the thing. I mean, you kind of like joke or jest, right? But like when you're really competitive, you got to feel that like, I'm sorry, like it's going to be me, even if you're like all in fun, right? But yeah, congratulations on that again. Revisiting a portion of your interview that we brought you on for 2 years ago following a great performance at US Women's. It might have been a little more than 2, actually, 2021, maybe 2 or 3. But you came out of that event with the highest ever, let me get this right, it's a Statmando stat, the highest ever FPO event rating. for somebody who's first major? Like, it was your first major. That was the highest rating for an event in the FPO ever. I believe that probably still holds on. Evan's not right now available to answer that, but I guess where I'm going with this is you've been playing at such a high level. Realistically, you didn't get the win until this point, but we watched you right out of the gate. We brought you on for an interview because we knew something special was happening here. It took 5 years to get this from when you started throwing a Frisbee. That's really not that long. And you only joined the tour a couple years ago. So, like, where do you see yourself next? I saw your Discmania profile, which they're going to have to update it.
Yeah, probably.
I think what's left is for you to win Worlds. You've won an Elite. You've done other things really well. Like, I mean, of course there's always more goals, but like, you want to win more. But like, I guess what's the sky for, like, where are you aiming?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, winning a major, winning Worlds would be awesome. I think for me, I think it's nice to like have those outcome goals of like, I want to win X event. And obviously like I prepare, you know, I'm a little more focused for the majors and things like that. You know, pretty much everybody is. But I think what's you know got me to this point was focusing on the process goals of just like trying to make sure I can put together consistent good rounds, consistent good tournaments, and see how that plays. I mean, like at the beginning of the season, I started off like with my best tournament average ever, and I lost to Evelina, you know? So it's like, I don't want to be mad about something like that where I know I'm playing good, I'm improving, I'm getting better. And if other people play good, like that's awesome. That's great for them. But I just really, you know, I'm focusing on kind of trying to keep getting better, putting together solid rounds, solid tournaments, and hopefully puts me in a good position.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do you see yourself in disc golf in years to come? I mean, is this your long-term goal now that you've made it a career choice, at least to this point? I mean, is this your long-term goal to make a brand and establish yourself for forever? I mean, that's obviously super big, but I just mean, like, is that what you're trying to do here? Or is this kind of a, hey, for now, this is what I like to do?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a for now thing. I love my job. I love traveling. I love, you know, the life that I'm living and the community I have on tour and on the road. And, you know, like I'm not going to say I'll keep playing like every single tournament, excuse me, like forever. But, you know, I see myself touring for a long time. I don't see, there's no like year in which in my head I'm like, yeah, I'll stop touring by this year. You know, I love what I do.
That's awesome. So I guess a performance question for you would be like, where's your limit at? I didn't look at your like player rating. We know how you've been performing. I can even pull up, not that you need to hear your own stats, but just how you're playing compared to last year. You averaged 9th place last year, like across all the events. So that's a top 10. That's pretty good. I don't know how you felt about last year. Do you have a feeling on that? If I said, hey, you finished 9th average last year, do you have a feeling about that for last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that seems pretty accurate. Definitely, I feel like I was like pretty consistently like top 10 and had a couple of better finishes, couple worse finishes, you know.
Yeah.
So it goes, but I mean, I struggled in the majors last year. That was one thing. Like you kind of talked about my first major ever. I got third, and that was kind of crazy. And then like in like 2022 and 2023, didn't play that well at majors. And so far this year, I think definitely top 10. I don't remember exactly what place I got, but through 2 majors, yeah, 2 top 10s at majors. That feels really good. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I want to see is just to keep getting better, and I think the field is getting better too. So I need to keep getting better at a rate better than the field. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
It's a challenge, but it's cool to be a part of.
So fun fact, I just did this right now while you're answering. Going into this event, you are averaging this season 9th place. So you were averaging exactly the same until this win. This win just pushed you ahead. So this first place took you from 9th place to now 8th place average. So now you are averaging 1 place better. If you can somehow keep that up and keep the trend going, you will definitely finish better on average than last year, which, again, it's just one of those numbers that we can track comparative to last year. But so good job there. We're seeing it now. You're performing better on finishing than last year. But now going to the performance question for actual performance of throwing, where do you feel like your game's lacking? You come out of a win. Did you feel like, man, I still marked things that I want to practice coming out of that event?
I mean, I feel like I was throwing the disc super well. Really, like, I think the only big mistakes I made, like I had 1 3-putt yesterday and that was rough. But like the only other mistakes I really felt like I made were like just not quite thinking enough, like kind of fluffing a couple upshots. I think I fluffed the upshot on hole 6, second and third round, and that was like very frustrating. And then just like, kind of I threw a roller on round 1, got me a double bogey, and I should have just gone with a simple forehand, and like made that correction in rounds 2 and 3. So mostly I think this weekend felt like decision making. I think I putted pretty well. I was feeling really good about that. I think that is kind of the least consistent part of my game. So like, when it's on, I'm feeling really good, but that's kind of a focus that I like. That's kind of one of the skills I feel like I need to keep putting work into to keep it going well. Whereas like my driving, I think, is a little bit more like just kind of comes naturally.
Yeah, and I've got this question, I heard this question asked many times by my brother now on the show, which, fun fact, the first interview we did with you, my brother, who's now a part of this show, he was replacing Nick for that show. And so the first ever we had.
I remember that.
Okay, so we'll bring Josh in here in just a second to ask a follow-up question to that. But one of the things he asked, and I may be stealing his fire here, I don't know, or his thunder, is this something that, like, is there something you're taking away that you realize, like, worked well and you're like, hey, I'm marking that down, I'm going to do this going forward, or it just felt good?
I think I feel like I started the season off well putting. I changed up my putt in the off season, tried to simplify it. And then I kind of had a slump like Jonesboro and Music City and a couple of the Texas tournaments, just putting didn't feel good. So just kind of like getting refocused on my cues, that was really helpful. So I don't know that it's really something I want to take away. I think there's just a couple things that sometimes it's easy to sort of forget to focus on things, like when your putt's feeling good and feeling normal, like and then you start to lose it, you're like, oh gosh, what do I do to get it back, So just for me, trying to remember, like, there's kind of like 3 main things that I have found to be helpful to think about as I'm putting recently, and so just remembering those things and keeping those in my head if I do kind of miss, so I can know how to correct.
All right, cool. Josh, you have 1 or 2, and then I'll close it out here.
Yeah. Hey, Ella, thank you for joining. Congrats on a big win. It was exciting. And I didn't ask to come on just because, but I literally picked you to win this past weekend.
Ding, ding,
we have a
ding.
pick'em game we play. So thank you for that, even though that has nothing to do with it. It is not about me, but again, congrats.
Thank you.
Just to ask you, do you think, so in the last 3 years, you've finished 4th, and now 1st. And now you hear Champions Cup is announced to play on this course in this venue. Have you thought at all about, like, hey, I mean, I know that's a year away and there's other majors between now and then, but do you feel like that course does uniquely suit your game? And are you thinking Champions Cup, big opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, like I talked about, it's kind of hard for me to talk about like the outcome goals as much. But I think, yeah, I do think the course suits my game pretty well. Like the distance definitely helps. I think there are some courses on tour that are like kind of feel like sucker distance courses where it's like, oh, I could eagle this hole, but I am like really risking it. And I think that there's definitely ways to get yourself in trouble at that course at Swenson Park, but I feel like it has pretty clear ways you can succeed on a hole. And I think I do a really good job of like throwing those shots that are consistent on the course. So yeah, I definitely feel like I play it pretty well. So I'll be looking forward to next year.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly because it's a different event, but you'll be the returning champ, so you'll have a good run at it.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple like totally different kind of questions. So first of all, does the jersey you're wearing, does it represent something? Do I just not recognize the team, or is there a story behind it? I can't see the whole thing. So we want.
It's an Oregon Ducks jersey.
Ah, there it is. I couldn't see the Ducks on my screen. I don't know if others could.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's at the bottom.
Perfect.
It's Sabrina Ionescu jersey I got when I was in college, and
okay.
Big Oregon fan.
Awesome. Well, maybe I should have known. I recognize the colors, but when I just saw fighting, I'm like, okay, what's the other half? But fighting Ducks makes perfect sense. And hey, can you just talk a little bit about the support from touring friends? We see a lot of on the green celebration after events, but it felt a little unique. So maybe just talk for a minute about what it feels like to have that support.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people since yesterday, and I feel like that was my favorite part of the day. I think favorite part of the weekend, just feeling the love from my friends, and yeah, it just means more to be able to share with my friends and celebrate with them and know how much they've supported me, and I try to support them back. And so just to see the people who I care about, sharing that love with me was awesome.
And talking about people we care about, you had a heartfelt post on social media today about how your father would have loved to have seen that, and I'm sure it's something he would have been proud of. Can you just comment a little bit on your feelings related to that?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was a big influence in my life, obviously. He died when I was 12, and he loved sports. I talked to him. I actually said as a kid that I wanted to be the first female professional baseball player, and not quite got there in baseball sense, but it's very cool to be a professional athlete. And he never knew really about disc golf, I don't think, but I think it's something he would love. And I feel like he would be proud of me, and it's a nice feeling to have.
Yeah. Well, obviously I don't know him, but I am sure he would be proud of you, regardless of a win. But putting a win as a professional athlete is certainly quite the accomplishment. So again, thank you for joining us, Matt. I'll throw it back to you, and we can wrap up, I'm sure.
Yeah, Ella, to a different tone here just a little bit. By the way, that was heartfelt, and we appreciate that on the show always. You mentioned back in our first interview something that we have in common. I didn't know at the time, but I said, what's another hobby of yours? And you said you enjoyed 3D printing. So Big Germ really enjoys 3D printing as well. I think he has a printer with him on the road. I'm pretty sure it's with him in his trailer. How about you? You got one in the car? You still do that at all, or is that a hobby of the past?
This is like kind of a very, very timely question, actually, because Tyler Holland's boyfriend just got a 3D printer in their trailer, and he's been printing a bunch of stuff, and I was talking to him about it, and I was like, oh, I might have to get one in the off season. But I'm like, now that I got a big payday, I was researching it today. So
wow,
you might see some cool gadgets printed in my future.
We did this with Big Germ, and I know the rest of our audience who's not into 3D printing is probably like fast forward. But what brand are you researching? All of them, or do you have one you're kind of dialing in on?
Well, I think Tyler got the Bamboo Labs one, which I think is the same one Germ has, or same brand, and it looks pretty good. So I'll make sure I do the research and pick the one that's right for me, but it might be that one.
Research no more. It's the same one I have as well. It is incredible. Okay. If you've ever been into 3D printing, you know that it's something that you have to tinker with a lot to get the right print. I'm not getting paid for this, so I won't even say their name. But I'll just say this printer that I have, 0 of that. Perfection, right out of the box. Click, go, boom, done. It's incredible, mind blowing.
Yeah.
So enjoy that.
That's what Tyler was saying too.
Enjoy it, or enjoy whatever you get, and definitely share. We should do a disc golf for 3D print group. That'd be pretty fun. So.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. Anything?
I made this.
Oh, go. He always holds up my scrap supports.
All right.
He always holds up my supports.
Pretty sick.
He's crazy over there. The parts I rip off the prints. He's like, yeah, look what I made. Okay. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything that we missed that you'd like to shout out? We could give you the floor, or you could just say, no, I'm good.
I'll shout out sponsors, Discmania, OTB, obviously. Shout out to that gang for making a great tournament, great week. And then Pound, Whale Sacks, and Tarojos. Thank you all.
Totally cool, Ella. We'll have you on again. I'm sure the future is even brighter than it is now. Keep it up. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Ella Hansen. Look at that. I had no idea she was about to pull the trigger
Matt,
on
you
a
owe me
3D printer.
$20 if Josh didn't keep track.
I know. Isn't that funny? We thought we had a bet that we never made. Can you remind us, Josh? Do you have that tab?
What would you do if I didn't like?
I would have
You
given him $20.
would have gave me $20.
By the way, this is my 20th episode on the show. If you're wondering.
20 weeks already.
I keep
Ben,
track
you
of
still feel
everything.
good about our bet?
But let's see.
Yes.
Hold on,
What?
Matt.
Yeah, I forget who it is again. Was it Henna?
Henna.
Ben bet Matt $20 that Henna will get a win in 2024.
Oh, okay. We got to
So
put
Ben
the $20
believes that,
behind
and
me
Okay,
on
but
the
here's
wall.
the thing.
And Ben
The
bet
European
Nick
Elite
$20
Series
that
counts.
Eagle will win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's got to be
She hasn't
on
won that yet.
the tour. It's got to be on their schedule. And,
And then Eagle, yes. I had Eagle.
Yeah,
win.
and Ben also says Eagle's going to get a win.
Yes. All right. So me and Nick are. I got to put the $20 on the wall behind me. We'll just
We're
keep
gonna
it
be
there as a
$20
reminder.
richer by the end of the season.
I don't know. That's us betting against 2 great players. Let's not say that, that's kind of, there's a chance.
Eagle did solid this year. I mean, this past weekend.
He did pretty good.
All right. So what we're going to do now, which we haven't done for a little while, we've been having so many great interviews.
Stat or fiction?
No.
Oh.
It's been alluded to a few times tonight. I will give you my take and then we'll go around the horn. Champions Cup 2025. I have absolutely 0 invested in this major as an individual. So in that sense, whoever's leading this ship to where the majors are going to be and putting in the bids to run the event, if they're winning out, it's not necessarily, the PDGA could trump that, I guess, because they're the ones choosing it, but there's a committee choosing it. And let's just say, for instance, one entity put in a bid. Now, I don't know how many did. Let's say it's 1 or 3, and the OTB Open crew just blew it away in all things promotion, quality, location, whatever it is, right? You can't fault them for going with it. Now, that set aside, I would love to have seen it always stay at WR Jackson. I think having I'll call it a destination, whether the venue itself is a destination, it probably was. But I want there to be that event, similar USDGC, where you go, you remember that hole, you remember how it played out, you had crowned the champions on the same hole. I would have loved to have seen that. That didn't work out. So then we had this vibe of, can we replace it because the trees are getting taken down? Can we go somewhere else? It happens to be a wooded course. Maybe happens. I bet that was a little bit planned, but still, again, it had to be an available course that could be on tour. So they pick it. It kind of reinforces to everybody, this is the wooded championship. We kind of like that. So when they announce OTB, it does feel kind of like a letdown. But besides it kind of feeling like a letdown, I don't think there's really any more to discuss about it was a mistake or it shouldn't happen. I feel like it's a letdown. That's my take. But it's going to be there, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I don't see it changing. Anybody else?
I'll kind of realistically, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people as they're like, in 1, 2, 3 years, it'll go back to WR Jackson. Pretty much take WR Jackson and get it out of your head. Because I don't think people realize exactly what's been done over at WR Jackson. Take hole 1 at Maple Hill and take out every single Christmas tree on the fairway. That's WR Jackson right now. Literally, the place looks like it got hit by a nuke. So it would take an insane amount of redesign time and effort that go into that. Just, yeah, it's done being at WR Jackson. Calvin kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, where this was actually supposed to be a traveling major. I remember D-Glow was supposed to have it. I think after 2 or 3 years, it was going to go up to D-Glow for a couple of years and then maybe back down to WR
Interjection
Jackson.
real quick. Remember, it was going to be like a multi-round
Well, it was gonna
event
be a
with
match
like
play.
match plays
Yeah.
and everything.
Oh, this event's changed so many times.
Exactly.
go on.
And they finally, I'll say this, they finally did it right, where it was like, hey, we're at a great course. Let's do 4 rounds of stroke play. Like, hey, that's the way to do it. And then even going up to Kensington or Toboggan, I thought would have been also another great venue. It's got a great group of people that run the tournaments there. And then, so yeah, I guess, did they ever say like, oh yeah, this is our wooded major? Like, I don't think the PDGA ever really came out and said like, this is our wooded major, right?
People decided to nominate that.
Yeah, we all coined it as, hey, this is our wooded major, which, yeah, am I a little bit more partial and biased towards wooded majors? Like, yeah, I thought it was really, really cool watching Presnell win this year. Even Evelina, such a power thrower, but to win in the woods. I think Northwoods is one of the best courses on the tour. So then going to a complete 180, like as almost opposite as you could get going out to OTB. I don't love it in the sense of it's just not really my style, but at the same time, the crew out there running it just ran a great tournament. They have been for years now. And this is the other part that people don't get, like if other communities don't put in these bids, then there's no reason for the tournament to go somewhere else. You would go to, let's say, the one place that you were bidding on. And that's where the amount of time, resources, everything like that go into these tournaments is not for just a small crew of people that think, oh, hey, let's go ahead and host an Elite Series event, or let's go ahead and host a major. But what I am curious is, years and years ago, we used to have the national tour, we had the majors, and then the pro tour came into play. So then we had national tours, pro tours, and majors. But then now we have pro tours pretty much and majors, with the PDGA running. Essentially, they used to run the national tour. They had a collective group of people who pretty much did what the pro tour is doing right now. Go out, set up these events, kind of run these events. And so that's where, I don't know, it's confusing. It's like, do you just say, like Nate Heinold just ran Champions Cup. It wasn't necessarily, it's the PDGA's tournament, but Nate Heinold's crew and him ran the event, which that's kind of a bad example because Nate's on the pro tour, or excuse me, on the PDGA. But I guess long story short, what I'm trying to say with it is I don't love the venue change, but at the same time, if you put the right group and the right staff into it, they are going to make it a kick-ass time. It's going to be a major that we all love and enjoy watching, even next year. And yeah, but realistically, it was funny when I went on Twitter and kind of heard about it, and it was just like someone made a funny tweet, or I guess it's not really Twitter anymore, but someone made a funny tweet and they were saying how the PDGA finally unified us in something, and it was just all hate towards what they made the decision. So it made me chuckle.
Yeah, well, I'm not unified because I didn't hate it. But anyway, like I just watched that event this past weekend and I thought it was like great. And I thought the course played more exciting than maybe I remembered it. They continue to fine tune it. It's amazing. Calvin expressed a sentiment, and he's one of our top touring pros. He's like, hey, I don't really know who coined it as a wooded major. Now, to be clear, everybody, of course, like, yes, it has been a wooded major, and I like that about it. But it's not like inherent to the name. It's literally like only several years old. Is it 3 years old? I forget.
Yes.
By the way, we're talking bids. I don't think this particular choice went to a formal bid. I'm sure they had internal conversations with possible candidates and there was considerations, but it wasn't a bid where it was like an open cast, like who wants to come run the event. And so I'm sure there are reasons, and for everybody, it's more complex to run a major than just the course. Now, the course is a major factor, but also the ability to run and execute event is a major factor. Everything from, sponsorships to how it's executed, where it's executed. How about all the uproar from everybody who wants, more events on the West Coast? Now we're bringing a major to the West Coast. Like, there's a whole lot of things that get mixed into the bag. And just to say, hey, I know of another course like Beaver State, or bring it back to Northwood, or go to any, all long list of other pro tour venue courses or historical wooded courses. It's just like, I understand the points. I'm not actually like saying anybody's like wrong for that opinion. Like, yeah, I don't know. I think Northwoods played pretty awesome. Like I could have handled it going back there again. But I almost said overreact. I don't know if that's true. In my opinion, to react with such vigor to suggest that like this is the craziest decision ever being made actually just shows that there's already an impending bias on if the PDGA makes a decision that doesn't seem absolutely perfect. There's a few other media outlets who will cast out a strong opinion, and then a lot of people will just follow, and the hype train picks up. And so, Nick, even on X, like the hype train picks up. It's what social media does and others. So I want to be clear. Anybody who has a raw opinion of they want this to be branded as a wooded course and they don't wish it went to OTB, like I can get with that. But to act like it's the craziest thing and it's so wrong-headed, it just like I'm like you're thinking single-threaded, and I just feel like there's more to the story, and you've got to like relax. They didn't even ask to be in this situation initially, right? So it's just like there's so many factors. At the end of the day, there could have also been 100 worse decisions. I think it's going to be amazing at that venue, that course, and we'll all be just fine with it.
Let me interject real quick because I saw in our chat, and thanks to our chat, shout out Zach, he said there's no bid for Champions Cup. So I started doing a little digging here, and it's interesting because as we know, Appling, Georgia, the inaugural event happened there again. Then it went this year to Peoria, or officially Morton to Northwoods. And then they had on their website posted as 2025 location back to Appling, Georgia. That was their initial plan, right? Even though they had rescheduled it, they were planning to come back. With that in mind, and with thank you, Zach, for the information, I'm assuming they did not have time to put this out for a bid. Like it was not in the plan, so nobody had put in a bid for 2025 because the plan was for it to come to Appling, Georgia. So my guess is, and this doesn't change your take, I'm sure, Josh, it doesn't change my take a little bit, I guess it does, but this group was chosen and said they could do it. Why they were chosen, I'm not sure. People maybe bringing it to California. Let's get it to a different coast. We don't have any majors that way. There's a reason for it being picked. Personally, now that let's have a wish list, I think I would have preferred Portland Open. Just as like, I think that would have like felt a little more right to me, but that nothing to do with the quality of the event, just perception wise. Anyways.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on it?
In fact, maybe the PDGA did a better job with more foresight to say, you know what, we're not going to be able to execute the 2025 event the way we wanted. Let's take some early action instead of scrambling like we've seen them do. So I actually am like, I know in our chat, there's differing opinions. I actually think there is a place here to have these opinions, but for some, I don't know if I've even seen it in our chat, but just in general, for some people to act like it was the stupidest decision ever made suggests that you're not looking at the whole picture. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I'll say this just from kind of, insider knowledge on some of the stuff is there was a couple different places that were almost like, hey, do you want to host the 2025? Because the PDGA knew that it probably was not going to go back to Appling, Georgia. And so with, Sean Jack and his team, they were pretty much asked to do it. And it's tough to say no to a major. I mean, that's big time status just for a tournament director, the tournament director staff.
Would you guys have said no to a major? Would you guys have said no to a major at Olympus if they asked you?
Well, okay. One of the things about us is we really like being the season opener, and it would be really hard for us to run a major middle of the year because, it's May right now. They're in California. And let's say 2 weeks prior, like they were in Illinois, yes, but they would have to come all the way back down to Florida just to then go all the way out to California. Like where we are located, it's not ideal unless we were to host an end of the season major.
Yeah. Anyways, I was just thinking out loud, like if they came and asked, frankly, Steve Dodge at Maple Hill, take him off the playoffs, let's make you a major, would Steve have said yes to that? And I don't know that he would have. So the point is, I think there's a lot to be taken here into consideration. Ben, you haven't said much. Is that because you don't have an opinion or nobody's asked you?
No, because nobody's asked me. You guys got to dish it to me. I'll keep it quick because it's pretty much, I have pretty much some of the same sentiment where I like the idea of it being a winning major. Like I think it was really cool to see Presnell win a major where we probably wouldn't have seen him win if it was like a different kind of open bomber wooded Open Bomber course. So I really like that part of Champions Cup being a wooded major. With that being said, I also understand just like allocation and the team and what it takes to run these things, and to put it in the hands of a guy like Sean Jack. And I think it makes sense, and I think this is probably just another holding period event for me personally. I think that's the way. I don't think it's going to stay there until we can finally get a solid place. I think they're going to go back in the woods eventually, and I think that's what Champions Cup should be, but who knows? That's just my guess. I think they're just like, scrambling in because of the whole the where it was supposed to be got infested with bugs and they completely changed it. So it's kind of like it's very tough. So I think whoever has the best infrastructure, I think for now it's just gonna go to, and hopefully we can see it go back in the woods very soon, the year after, and have it be the wooded major. But if not, that's okay.
We're also talking about, like, let's say this is a filler event. Like, let's say in 2026, Appling, Georgia is going to be ready to go. They've got the redesign. They did all the construction, everything. Let's say it finally goes back to IDGC and it stays there. But at the same time, like, USDGC stays at the same spot every single year. The World Championships moves. Our European Open has been at the same place, but is now technically moving to Tampere. So we have kind of 3 out of 4 majors or 2 out of 4 majors every single year that rotate. So, like, we're talking about OTB Open kind of being the major in 2025. That doesn't mean it's going to be Champions Cup in 2026 or 2027. Like, this could end up just being a rotating major. Mm-hmm. And maybe after 2025, people do start making bids on it. And then, maybe Beaver State Fling, Milo, or Glendoveer make a bid on it. Maybe somewhere out in Kansas City makes a bid on it. So it's another thing. We're kind of, I don't want to jump to conclusions. Like, Champions Cup originally was supposed to be a rotating major. It then found a home at IDGC where people love it. I think the spectators of the sport, players of the sport, everyone kind of seems to really have loved WR Jackson. And so, I mean, 2025, if we have a filler event for it, then whatever. It's probably going to be ran great.
All right. In closing out the topic, I will shout out Zach one more time. I like his last comment here. Whether or not you agree with this, his last comment. We do need a major at IDGC. I feel it just needs to be fixed. I can agree with the sentiment, the International Disc Golf Center. I mean, if we can have a major there as it was, it's so crazy how it's already nostalgic to like what we've experienced there. And I think it'd be great to see it go back. Moving on from that topic, breaking news this morning when I woke up.
Yeah.
I'll get it right. I was going to say Kristin Tattar as if I'm an American, and I am.
Tattar.
But the way I've learned now, it's Kristin Tattar. So I don't know if it fits well when I'm talking English and American English, but she broke a rib. I don't know which one. I don't know if, snapped it or fractured it. Either way, broken ribs. Yeah, that's really sore. Some people can throw, so it depends on which one. I'm guessing she's going to fully rehab this. Sounds like 4 weeks she is out. She posted this on social media. She said she was doing some sort of, did I get this right? Either renovation or...
Yeah, renovating.
Something.
Yeah.
Tripped, fell. In the safety world that I'm in, slips, trips, and falls. Number 1 incident. So, wow. What does this mean?
Evan's back, right?
Yeah, we can bring Evan in if you want to. 5 up.
Evan, are you back?
Well, you gotta. Oh yeah.
He sure
okay.
is.
Yeah, we'll let you talk.
Yeah,
okay.
Now you can talk.
So this comes right immediately. It seems like on the heels of a celebration of 1,000 rated. First FPO player to ever accomplish that. A lot of accolades. A lot of people chiming in on that. FPO champions of the past included in all this. Incredible. So I guess it's the highs to the lows. What do you guys take away from, I guess, both of those, if you want to comment on either of those? We'll start with Ben.
About her breaking her rib.
Or the 1,000 rated, how it all goes together. Whatever you want.
Yeah. So her breaking her rib, obviously very unfortunate. But it's awesome that, she's a queen doing the renovation of her house and building and all that, but it's just unfortunate that she slipped and broke her rib. But I understand where she's coming from, where giving it a rest. Luckily, a broken rib isn't like that crazy. She can probably still move. It's just, I think as the greatest of all time in FPO, it'd just be smart to just let it heal so it doesn't have any further repercussions if she comes back too early. So it makes sense, the 4 week that she's staying behind and just healing that. As for the 1,000 rated, we're witnessing history. It's something we talked about for years and years to come, and I think we're going to see more and more 1,000 rated FPO players 20, 30 years from now, but Kristin set the standard, and that's what we're going to look back on, and it's going to inspire a whole generation of younger FPO players that, they can do it too, and that look up to Kristin. So I think she's just an incredible role model, and it's unfortunate that she's not going to be out there playing, but it's only 4 weeks, and, she got to do what's best for her.
It's only 4 weeks, but I think it's like, I don't know if she would have been at Portland anyway, but like 6 events. It's just like, it's a pretty big deal in news, right? In some ways it's easy to say, well, yeah, like that's an unfortunate accident. At least it's only 4 weeks, and that's true. But it's like, man, like one of the best in the game, like it changes the whole narrative of the season. Again, just roughly speaking, I think it's 6 events, and some of them are well known. So unfortunate for her. She obviously, is probably quite disappointed. Hopefully she can rest and recover. And I kind of felt like it was an unintentional mic drop moment. It's like 1,000 rated, and it's like, and I'm out.
Peace out.
But anyway, hoping the best. Accidents happen. It can happen to anybody. That's the thing about being in a physical, sport that relies on your physical health. It's a blessing to be healthy.
Daniel in Texas says Katie's posts sound very AI generated. I'm just bringing that up because we brought that up in the past before. So I took a quick moment on Chat GPT, said, write up the post about my broken rib. And here it is. Hey everyone, I wanted to let you all know that I've had a bit of an accident and ended up breaking one of my ribs. As much as I hate to say it, this means I'll be out of competition for the next 4 weeks. I'm already on the mend and am looking forward to making a strong return. Thank you for your support and understanding during this time. It means the world to me. Stay tuned for updates, and I can't wait to be back. Now, that's ChatGPT. The future is using these deep fake videos, right? And remember seeing that video on social media go around with Macbeth and others? Did you guys hear that? Did you guys see that? Where it was not safe for work per se, but Paul Macbeth saying things in the interview.
I did see that.
The one with Simon.
Unreal.
And Brian
Earhart.
Yes.
He's bashing everybody.
Unreal.
Hilarious.
Dude,
so
one of the funniest videos I've ever seen.
I'm sure Paul's seen that. He had to have.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we sent it into our group chat, so I'm sure he's seen it at least once. But dude, I watched that now.
Even though it's like completely hilarious, like it's hilarious because we all know it's fake. But like if you're like somebody like Paul and you're like, somebody took the time to deep fake me, I wonder if it makes you start wondering what's going on out there. But
to anyone who hasn't seen it, it's very, very, it's rated R. So do not watch it around your kids or anything like that.
Dude, I just don't get how they got Paul and Brian's voices. I feel like they're like, I would only think that can happen to more prominent people. I just don't understand. Like, it's just like these
you only need a certain
men.
amount of audio.
Dude.
Paul's got way more than enough audio out there.
Think how much we have.
Yeah, they can deep fake us easily.
Oh, don't. We got to skip past that because now someone's going to.
I've got my next expo being launched in Canada. And people like, we're going to Canada. Yeah. All right.
Realistically, really quick, sucks about Kristin's injury. But at the same time, she's also been dealing with other injuries, fatigue, stuff like that. Maybe this will be a good mental reset. Just at 1,000 rated, you have to work extremely hard to get to that point. I was kind of just briefly going down other top rated FPO pros. Obviously, Paige Pierce got to 996. She was 991, went up to 996, but then had a big drop off and then had a massive injury. Owen Scoggins has gone up to 989. Missy Gannon with 983 or 987. I mean, we're talking, it's an extra. If you really look at it, if you want to do the simple math to it, it's like, depending on the tournament, but for the most part, every single stroke is 8 points. And so if Kristin's 1,000 and everyone else is 985, realistically, Kristin, by the math of the ratings, is winning each round by 1.5 to 2 strokes. And that's just where, and after a 4 or 5 round tournament, obviously you can see. Now, that does not play out every single week. And we have been seeing this year, so many 1,000, 10, 1,020 rated rounds. I feel like just 1,000+ rated rounds in the FPO division. That is awesome to see. Everyone just slowly keep kind of like iron sharpens iron. Everyone is building each other up. Just this past weekend, Ella, Holland, and I think Natalie Ryan all popped off 1,000 rated rounds. Cat Merch popping off 1,000 rated round. So we're seeing it more and more. But the fact that Kristin is sitting at 1,000 rated it's nothing short of incredible.
Yeah. I want to take this opportunity to move us into another topic as we get ready to close out, which is going to be, and I set you guys up without knowing that you're getting set up for this, besides it being in the show notes. Reaction to the leaderboard at the OTB Open. So we already had the recap, but what I want you to do, and we've done this before, go ahead and pull it up if you don't have it pulled up. What stands out to you? Pick one name or two names, and that's it. It can be anywhere.
Both sides? Oh,
yeah,
anywhere?
FPO, MPO. It can be anything, all the way down to 117th place. If that stands out to you, I'll kick it off and say that Eagle McMahon stands out to me. 13th place, as much as that may not be his favorite finish, that's a good sign.
Can I ask you something? Why does that stand out to you?
Because we haven't seen him in what feels like forever.
Okay.
That's
and post injury. I mean, he was terrible at Champions Cup.
Yeah,
I mean, he can admit that. And then I think this is his first time after. Yeah, it's his first time after Champions Cup. So to go from 90th, 13th. I think is,
so is that your player too?
No, I think mine is. I just closed it on accident, but Randon Lotta. I mean,
Johnny Lotta.
It's a guy we've heard about, we've all known about, but he's never really done anything too special on tour. He's kind of, been middle pack, sometimes even lower pack. But for him to pop off, tie the course record and finish third, got to give him a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
A lot of confidence. So Randon Lotta, I think that for me, and I'll say another one, Paige Pierce. Paige Pierce. Coming back from the injury, finally getting a solid finish and hopefully, carrying that to the further rounds or further events. And we can see the Paige that we know and love. And the Paige, she probably expects to perform. Like
European pronunciation.
Page.
Page.
That's what I said earlier.
Okay.
Page.
Josh, I guess we'll go to you. I still have an FPO one, but give us what you want.
I mean, it's easy to pick off the top, but I'm going to, which is Gavin Rathbun. I mean, so remember when he was talked about, hey, he's going to start competing well, and he was, I guess you'd call him an up-and-comer, young guy, and then injury, I think surgery, kind of multi-year recovery. I think he's even acknowledged some challenges of motivation and where's the focus, and working through a real injury is really demoralizing. And here he is, not even, I think, sponsored by a traditional manufacturer. And he is playing well this year and then competing for the win against Calvin and couldn't quite put on the chase, but he did not fold in that final round. I'm just impressed with the whole story of Gavin Rathbun.
There you go. Nick, what stands out to you?
Okay. My first one is Colton Montgomery.
Yeah.
Finished in 13th place, tied with Eagle McMahon, kind of Ben's pick over on the MPO side. But Colton Montgomery has not gotten off to a strong start this year. This is by far his best cash of the year. Colton also, as we know, back in 2020, won the Waco tournament and then hasn't really done an insane amount since. But still grinding on the tour 4 years later. I think this is a big boost of confidence. He's a power thrower, has incredible distance, and is a sneaky good putter, kind of big spin putter. When he's on, he's on. And then on the FPO side, I think you can definitely say Paige Pierce. But I also want to say, where to go really quick? Jessica Weiss in 8th place. Jessica Weiss is someone where great forehand, great backhand form, and it works most of the time. Her putting has always not been her strong suit. So to get a top 10 just shows, if the putting was on, great, but she's a great thrower. And on these bigger courses, I do think she actually has a great advantage. If she could kind of just dial in that putting, Jessica Weiss, I think, would be a consistent top 5, top 6 player. Just needs to dial in that putting.
Yeah, you mentioned Colton. He has been averaging 63rd place.
Yeah, like that would have been a huge pop pick this week.
His only better finish than 63rd was a 52nd and a 61. So until this 13th. So yeah, big play this weekend for him. My FPO standout to me is Anakin. Yes. She came back and she shot good. Her rating is 947 currently. I'd have to look and see at most recent update what she was before that, because she just shot like a 970 something event here. Rating history. Let me just see real quick. Did it just pull it up? Wait, is it rating detail? Sorry, I went to the wrong one.
Ratings history.
927 was in May. 10, May 12. Oh, no, that's her events. I'm sorry. It's rating history. You're right, Nick. I heard you say it while I'm talking something else out. April, May, March. Okay. She actually stayed the same between April and May. So 947, 947. Not really anything significant. So, but anyway, she's shooting better. And my point is to see her come back, it's not really a fluke, man. She's 6th place. I think we're going to see a lot more of her. From my interview with her, when we had her on before she returned back to Europe, she really sounded like this is what she really wants to do. So I would expect that we're going to see her continue to rise as well.
I think there's a ton of players we can still talk about. I mean, like Donnie Latta, Gavin Babcock, Sullivan Tipton. Like you could literally take. Yeah. Evan said it earlier. Look at the top 10, and it's just players who you don't normally see. Like Gavin Babcock has popped off 3 good tournaments in a row. Sullivan Tipton, top 4 at an Elite Series event. Zach Nash. I mean, these are players who we don't talk about or hear about every single week, but yet we're seeing it. Robert Burridge had an incredible tournament this weekend. So we are seeing a lot of those kind of players step up and get into it. As I'm kind of going down the list, this was a pretty American favored, top 20?
MPO. Yeah, a lot of
on the MPO side.
Yeah,
yes.
A lot of Europeans not here. In fact, I was going to make mention of
Niklas
this.
Is here, Niemanen.
FPO, lightest field attendance-wise. I want to be clear. Tour player attendance-wise, this is the lightest field yet. If they've been, say, they've had 35, 38, 31, most FPO players. At this event, they had 25. So, but if you look, to your point, I think most, I know we had Anakin here. I'm trying to see if there's, and Luca, she lives here now on a visa. But like, other than that, no other Europeans. So, there it is.
Yeah.
As we get ready to close out tonight, we kind of already touched on some of these. I don't really want to get into much more, but like the place for golf courses on tour. I feel like, in short, I like to see different disciplines. I've talked about this in years past. Most sports have multiple disciplines. I do like seeing woods. I do like seeing fields. I know the feel of a disc golf, a golf course, doesn't always feel right. But look at Portland Open. Watch it. It's not this week. It's the following. And kind of reflect on it. That one's done really well. So I feel like golf courses belong as a discipline. I would love to make sure that the powers that be that are creating this tour just kind of keep it. And they will. Look, I mean, we've got Maple Hill. We've got Northwoods. We've got Waco still on there. So that could be argued. We've got Idlewild, which is... So I think it's there. But I just want people to remember that. You don't have to like golf courses. But there's a place, I think, as a discipline at some point, as long as they're done well. Any other thoughts on that, guys, for golf courses? You want to share your feelings on that?
I was going to say, there's almost the conversation of, we see golf courses get played a lot, kind of golf, disc golf. We can transition into them pretty easily. And I'm not a huge person on kind of like public parks or anything like that. But like Jones West, I think, or Jones Supreme, whatever it was in the 2022 Worlds, I actually had a great time playing it. I thought that was a very fun, unique, open style course. And then you can look at courses like Fox Run. That's considered an open course. Realistically, they only have maybe 2 to 3 wooded holes on that property. Now, that's such, to me, an immaculate, unique piece of property. But that's kind of that open style of disc golf that we see. I'd almost rather find properties like that, which I know is impossible, don't get me wrong. I'd almost rather find properties like that than actual golf courses. Does that make sense? Like European Open is played in a public park, and it's got a great blend of very wooded holes, moderately wooded holes, and then some open holes. Fox Run, I think, is great because it's mostly open, but it's a challenging open. And rather than just playing on the side of a golf fairway or going up and down a golf fairway where all the greens are OB, stuff like that, there is a point to open style courses. Biggest point, you can fit more spectators on them. Like you can fit more spectators on Fox Run than you can Brewster Ridge, and the viewing experience is 1,000 times better in person being at Fox Run than it is at Brewster Ridge.
Speaking of which, Nick, you have a topic on here, so roll into it. Getting spectators to the course.
Yeah, I was gonna say spectating. Like I'm kind of just kind of watching the last few events, and people have noticed this. I see it on Facebook a lot in all the different disc golf groups, but I feel like our attendance this year at disc golf events is lower than in years past. I'm one of those people where fortunately I played a lot of events. I got caddy badges or VIP badges from friends. And so I personally, I'm not going to lie, I don't think I've ever paid to get into a disc golf pro tour event. So I don't 100% know how much GA tickets cost or VIP tickets cost, even though where I work, we ran an event. I don't do the logistical side of those things. I think VIP is what, $100 to $150 for the weekend, maybe. Someone can elaborate on it better than I can. But at the same time, this is kind of a question for the chat. And then for any viewers commenting post-production of this video is, what is deterring you from not going to a pro tour event? You know what I mean?
Well, I'll let others respond too, but location is a big part of it. Venue and ticket prices. All of that is part of it.
What is a high ticket price for you, Matt? Seriously, when
can talk about
not
that.
Go to Maple Hill?
Yeah,
because of the ticket price.
We can talk about that part of it. But let me just first say, I would like to see what the numbers are comparatively to your point of a take saying it seems like less. Maybe it does seem like less, but maybe we're also, I don't know, in our heads building it up to be what we saw last year is different than this year. I don't know, but for the fun of it, we'll do prices right here, or who's going to pay more than what. I already have bought tickets for Maple Hill. It's a playoff event, and I bought them for my kids as well. And it's like, it's expensive. I'll just say it's like $100 plus to go to the 4 days. Now to go to one round, 1 day is not a big deal. So if we're talking specifically one round, Nick, it really depends on the event, I guess. I'd pay $40 to get in. I know it's a lot because I have kids. I get it. You're paying for more than just yourself, but like I think
let's just talk about you.
for one day. $40
don't talk about bringing the family.
$40 for 1 day. I would.
I like this. The staggered stance.
This is the Nick and Matt show. OG.
I would do $40 for 1 day, but see, it all depends on what's included. Like, is this an experience round, like where they're going to give you special treatment? Then I might pay for one round $100, right? So there's a lot that goes into that question.
Do you go to concerts or other sporting events for a special experience besides of what you're paying? Like, you know, my mom, my girlfriend, and my sister spent a bunch of money on Billy Joel tickets. I went for the experience of seeing who I think is one of the greatest piano players and songwriters of all time. That was my experience. I wasn't given a shirt. I wasn't given a disc or anything. You know, just kind of like I wasn't
Billy
given
Joel
anything
disc?
except for, I wasn't given anything except for the experience of listening to who I think is who I know is my favorite musicianal artist of all time. Now, when I go to a disc golf tournament, or actually I'll retract that, because when I go to a Celtics game or a Red Sox game or something like that, I'm going because I want to watch the Red Sox play or I want to watch the Celtics play. If they give us a towel or a shirt, cool. You know, I've been to a Celtics game where it was in the playoffs and they give everyone a shirt that came. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It was like Protect the Parquet or something like that. I thought that was great, but I'm not going for anything else rather than this is what I want to watch. So I feel like when I go to a disc golf event, I'm going to watch my friends compete and hopefully win. Like I'm going to watch Simon, or I'm going to watch Paul, or, you know, someone of that caliber, like, and I'm hoping they're going to win the event rather than like, yes, if there's food there, of course, I would love it. Like, a food truck, something, preferably some, what do you call it, like brick oven pizza or something like that. If there's a beer vendor, phenomenal.
But do
Those
you
are things
pay?
that, yes.
But
What's
do you pay at these sporting events that you're talking about? Would you pay for nicer seats? Like, as opposed to having nosebleed, would you say, oh, I'd pay a little more if I could get front row? For instance, the Bruins are in the playoffs. We care because I'm up from Boston. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
yeah.
The Celtics are in the playoff.
Yes, we have a lot of players in the playoff. but I was thinking back to the story I was going to tell you, and I saw tickets go up for sale locally from a friend who said, like, second row seats for 2 tickets was $700. That is mind-blowing, as in, like, I almost pulled the trigger immediately. That was a Game 7 in for the Bruins. And I was like, but my point is, I wouldn't have paid $700 for a nosebleed there. You're right. I would see the same thing, but like, I will pay more for an experience. That's why I'm bringing that up. I think it depends to me.
That makes sense. When you say like, yeah, that makes sense. So that experience is you getting a general admission ticket, kind of walking around, like, let's say you're walking, I got to think of what GA does. Let's say you can walk holes 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But when you get the VIP, you can now watch 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can hang out at the 8 holes.
Right.
You know, and so like, yes. So that's the experience you're talking about when it comes to ticket prices.
Yeah, that's more what I mean, is like accessibility to my experience at the venue. Josh or Ben, any thoughts on this before we close out tonight?
Nothing substantial.
No, yeah, you guys.
I have opinions on it, but it's just gonna.
How much would you pay, Josh?
That's an interesting question, because I actually feel like things are changing for me. What I mean by that is, like, it's weird because we have history. What I mean by that is, what I used to be able to pay, and I'm not talking about the inflation, but the full access to everywhere. And what happens is the full access to everywhere continues to get new tiers. So now it's hard to park. It's hard to like go anywhere. So like, if I change my mindset, I'm happy to pay $20 and just chill at the top of Maple Hill. Like, that's fine with me now, right? Like, but it's weird because it used to be totally different than that. So yeah, I don't know. Matt, I haven't bought tickets. And in the past, I jumped on it the day it opened because I wanted VIP, but I just, like, I'm not sure.
Well, I can tell you, last year to spectate Maple Hill, I spent $725. So
yeah, I spent a lot. I don't know if it was that much.
I was vending there. That's why.
I was going to say, you were vending.
Yeah.
Right,
so with you vending though, so let's say you spent $725 to spectate and vend. Did you make more than $725 vending?
No. I mean, negative
$725.
He means advertising.
Yes, it was more like, hey guys,
just promoting the expo.
Correct.
Not selling
Fortunately, I won't have to do that as much because this expos has been going well and people know it now. But yeah, it was a grind. It was just like it was like I was selling my expo. Hey, disc golf expo, first one in the world. Check it out. But yeah,
I have mental images of that. Remember, it was raining and your tent was collapsed and the papers were wet, and I'm like, it turned into awesomeness. We should have a meme of that. What it started out like and what it is.
Yeah.
So anyways, that is a topic we've talked about for a long time, but usually it used to be back, Nick. Remember our first episode? It's like, how much would you pay to play a round of disc golf? Now it's how much would you pay to watch? Seriously. And to Josh's point of history, this is not to be nostalgic and tell people like how it used to be, like we're old. But, and Nick, you'll remember this. Like, we used to be able to walk on the Maple Hill during an elite event. Just walk in, nothing. Nobody screening, nobody checking. It was literally come as you are, everybody. Free. No gates, no nothing. Yep. And you could just follow literally as a, quote, caddy for any player. And so we'd pick, let's go walk with Paul Macbeth. Literally like walking next to him, talking to him while he plays his round. Like, that's how the tour used to be just back in like 2015.
I was going to say, 2013, 14,
the last
15,
10 years.
I mean, yeah. Realistically,
big shift.
If you want to kind of like really divulge deep into it, is like in 2015 when I was living in New York, Hannah had got me a disc signed by Paul. And she was able to walk onto the property that I can't imagine she paid any general admission fees or whatever. Got a disc signed by him, and the rest is history. You know, obviously they're married with an awesome, beautiful boy. And I get it now. Like I want to talk to our crew of people who did stuff for the chess.com tournament. And because like I read the chat, people are saying, it should only cost $10 to get in or $20 to get in or whatever. And like I said, I don't fully know what GA ticket prices are. But the amount of money that goes into running an event, like the Disc Golf Pro Tour is a business, and breaking even with that kind of business is, if you can survive to get to the next season, then that's almost like a good thing. You're just trying to keep the Disc Golf Pro Tour going from 2024 to 2025. So whatever the prices they need to make to kind of break even throughout the tour that year is kind of how, it's obviously not how they want to be, but it's how that kind of world of things works. So like, sponsorships play a huge part in that, the added cash and everything like that. But running a tournament in and of itself, it costs a stupid amount of money, and just hosting that. And so, yeah, if ticket prices go from $20 to $30 one year, it wouldn't surprise me, at $30 to $50 or whatever. But I get it to where, on a Thursday round one of a major, I might not want to pay $50 to go watch round one. But come Sunday, when you kind of see, back in the day, McBeast Mode on Sunday or Tiger Red or whatever, and you pay $100 or $150 for a VIP ticket, I would rather do that. It's like, Matt, you were talking about ticket prices earlier. When I went to the Eastern Conference Finals game against the Cavs in 2018, I think Seth, Caleb, and I spent $220 to $250 a piece for tickets. And we were sitting pretty high up. We just went because we got off of work early one day and we thought it'd be a fun thing to do. So we were like, let's do it. Let's go buy tickets for it. Now, I wouldn't spend $250 for game 45 of the regular season for the Celtics. I would spend $45 to $50 and get third row rafter seat, or, rafter seats, whatever, because it's a regular season game. It's not, it's not as intense as the playoffs are. So I guess that's also a difference of, I would spend more money on a Sunday than I would a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday of a tournament.
Absolutely. And just to put it out there, that is how Maple Hill is tiered as well. I think they have a Thursday, what they call a red ticket, for $10. So if you want to mingle and be with people who are watching disc golf at a Pro Tour event, now it's sold out. Oh no, 481 remaining. There you go. So you can buy one red ticket. I don't know where that gets you to exactly. And then you would have to be dropped off because there's parking cost or shuttled in, but $10, you could do it. Probably get an autograph included with that. Just wait in the line. So I think it is affordable depending on what you get for your experience. All right. That's it, guys. We've made it to the end of the show. 2 great interviews, a fair amount of talking here of topics following those interviews. We're appreciative of everyone that joins in every single week. Did I miss anything, guys? Are we done?
It's been a good episode.
That's pretty much
long
it.
One.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Got to go to bed.
Thank you, everybody who tuned in on this wonderful Monday night. We appreciate it. I don't know why all of a sudden my camera got blurry.
He's a beauty icon.
You drank too much, Nick.
I guess so. So
it's clear on our end. No.
Yeah. I don't know why. Anyways, thank you everybody so much for tuning in on this wonderful Monday night of Staggered Stance. Thank you to Disc Golf 978 and Hooligan Discs for being huge supporters of the show. Thank you to all of you. We love you guys very much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube video. Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tell someone you love them this week. Catch you in the next one.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate every listener and viewer. Yeah, we enjoy doing it, but you're the reason we keep doing it. Ben, you're awesome. Nick, you're awesome. Josh, you're awesome. Evan, you're awesome if you're listening. Peace out.
Thanks.
Peace.